Good evening, everyone. My name is Terry O'Connor. I'm the priest in charge at St. Mark and All Saints Episcopal Church on Pitney Road. So I'm very happy to be here. I was just teasing Blake when he sat down, and everyone who's spoke this evening has done a wonderful job. And I said to him, "Oh, great, I have to go after you," like kidding around. And he said, "I've been doing this 30-some years. 30 years, unlike me, who's been doing it 2. So I ask you to bear with me on this, okay? It is an honor to be here this evening, and I have to admit, I've heard many people sharing this evening, I've been very guilty myself of preaching carefully, treading very lightly, walking on eggshells, remembering in my head, Terry, stick to the gospel of Jesus, because I'm here to represent the Christian faith. Stick to the gospel of Jesus. The seminary told us, don't let the politics come from the pulpit, and I'm not suggesting that they do. But on the other side, I have to admit that I was afraid often to offend people, maybe turn people away, maybe get people to not want to come back to church, whatever it may be. And each week, as I saw more and more things happening in this country and more things that just seemed to be hurting more and more people that I knew personally. I work for the school district in Galloway as well, so I see a lot of children of all different backgrounds. I see fear in their faces. I see fear in their families when they come into the schools. I see it in our church. I see it in the community. And as I saw this, it became harder and harder to preach good news, gospel, when not so much good news seemed to be going around lately. And as a Christian, I understand the call that what I'm supposed to do, according to who I choose to follow as a Christian, Jesus, is to say that I love God and I also love my neighbor. And I also have to remember that in saying that, it means that loving my neighbor means loving anyone, everyone, whether they are like me or they're not like me. And that was a hard thing to understand, I'm sure, for many of us. When I look at my faith and I say, what am I called to do? I'm called to remember that the person I follow, the Lord I follow, ate with tax collectors, hung out with sinners, associated with the outcast of his time period, those who were known and seen to be on the fringes of society, stood up for the marginalized, and nonviolently challenged the powers that be, a voice to the voiceless. After the events last week, I cannot stay quiet. I can't weigh my words softly. I can't walk too cautiously because, as we've heard over and over again, silence and doing nothing means that we stand for this or we allow this to continue. And we can't. And like Jesus, the one I follow and try to imitate, I must stand with you. And however you see our Creator, and speak up and speak out when people are being hurt, when people are being demeaned, and yes, even when people are being killed. As a follower of Jesus Christ, my baptismal vows require me to serve everyone. And again, that doesn't matter if they look like me or think like me or worship like I do. My baptismal vows make me or require me to defend the least of these. In my baptismal vows, I promise to respect the dignity of every human being. This is what we're called to do. Therefore, I won't tread carefully, so not to offend those who maybe do not worry about offending others or harming others. Because racism, bigotry, hatred, white supremacy, hatred in general, go against the very grains of what my Savior stands for as a Christian. Lost my place, I'm sorry. Our bishop this last week in the Episcopal Church had put out a letter, and it was funny. I kind of took the harder stance last week at church and kind of spoke out a little more, and I felt my heart kind of opening up a little more and realized that I've crossed that line where, again, I can't tread too lightly. And then I'll be honest with you, I kind of went back in the car and said, ooh, did I cross any lines there? Did I do this? You always worry about those things. Until I saw the news yesterday and the other day, and I said, nah, I didn't cross any lines. I didn't cross any lines, no. And if I crossed lines, then my church, the people who call themselves, and they're wonderful people, believe me, I love my church community. But if that's how we are, we're crossing lines and it's a bad thing, then we have a lot of dialogue to still do. We have a lot of discussion to still have, and we have a lot of work to do. So I stand with all of you. I thank you for being here this evening. I thank you for allowing me to share my Christian faith and what it means to be a priest in this community. And more than anything, a human in this community, working and walking hand in hand with you to hopefully undo, in a good way, what seems to be being undone faster than I can even imagine at this point in our society. So thank you and blessings upon all.